Hello, I'm Tom Bleasdale, and today I'm going to talk a bit about the basics of fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia, without getting too complicated and going into too much detail, is a very, very nasty illness that can strike for various reasons. I'll go into that in a moment, but its basis is in the way the brain and the nervous system communicate. There is an extreme level of overactivity in the communication centers between the central nervous pathways and the brain, and this results in the heightened levels of sensitivity and pain that sufferers of fibromyalgia have to live with. The causes of fibromyalgia are numerous, and lots of different things can trigger off permanent fibromyalgia, such as extreme physical trauma caused by a car accident or something similar. Emotional trauma can also cause fibromyalgia. Long-term mistreatment can cause fibromyalgia, and misdiagnosis and various illnesses or viruses can leave the person with fibromyalgia. For me, it was caused by a long-term misdiagnosis and mistreatment. Once that was kind of under control, I was left with severe fibromyalgia. I thought it was part of the illness I actually had, but it turns out to be something separate that came along afterwards, caused by the long-term illness and the extreme physical trauma I went through there. Some people do seem to go into remission from fibromyalgia. Very few, but some do. It is possible. Some people appear to be cured through psychological treatments. Those people, I assume, perhaps wrongly, but I assume they have a psychosomatic fibromyalgia because psychological techniques have not worked with my fibromyalgia, or for many people I know who have also tried various psychological treatments and pathways such as the lightning therapy treatment. It does work for some people, and fantastic, that's great. It doesn't work for everyone, and in my experience, it doesn't work for the majority. The majority of us have a very physical fibromyalgia, rooted in our bodies, in a physical cause, and with very physical symptoms that only seem to get worse. That's one of the tough things about this illness, is that it does seem to get progressively worse. Year on year, my condition has deteriorated quite significantly. There are lots of things like holding certain objects, which most people wouldn't even consider. I have to think about, actually, do I have the strength to lift that up? Is my hand sensitive enough to hold it without it being in too much pain? These are things I have to consider. There are days when I can't play my guitar because pressing the strings hurts too much. Even trying to pick the guitar up, my muscles hurt too much because they're that weak and fatigued as a result of a fibromyalgia flare-up, for example. It does tend to get progressively worse, sadly, for most people. So the predominant symptoms of fibromyalgia, which everyone with fibromyalgia has to live with, are first and foremost the pain. Throughout the entire body, usually. It's cramping, crushing, squeezing, burning, electric shocks, stabbing pain, any kind of pain you can imagine. That's what you get with fibromyalgia. It varies what kind of pain you're going to get. The most common and most overriding type of pain is just a deep aching throughout all the muscles in the body, just a deep, strong ache right in the center of the muscles that you just, no amount of massage or rubbing really gets rid of. It helps, but doesn't get rid of it. Other symptoms include fibrofog, which is why I've had to record this about 10 times because I keep forgetting what I'm supposed to be saying. Keeping track of things psychologically, mentally can be very, very difficult. And for example, I'll be watching a film and I'll have to rewind it over and over and over because I can't follow it, or I'll have an entire conversation with someone and the next day, no recollection of that conversation at all. There's certain hours during the day where I try not to do anything important because I know I probably won't remember it the next day. And that's a very, very common symptom. Can also lead to doing silly things like putting your keys in the fridge and being a bit dangerous around cooking appliances. I always have to use alarms if I'm using the oven, otherwise I will set fire to myself. Other symptoms include insomnia. That's one of the worst ones. Trying to sleep when you're in pain is difficult, bad enough as it is, but when you've got constant pain throughout your whole body and you do get to sleep and then you wake up 10, 15, 20 minutes later, it's still in pain. You try to go back to sleep again. It's a cycle that goes on all night, and you never get proper deep sleep. And as a result of that, you wake up just as exhausted as you were before you went to bed. Muscles and fibromyalgia, they can tear quite easily, and it's very, very easily to strain them and to pull muscles. I don't think a week goes by where I don't have a muscle pulled in my back or neck or shoulder or my arm at some point. Also the ankles, but that's just me. Everyone has different levels of symptoms, and everyone's symptoms can differ slightly. There's many more symptoms that go with fibromyalgia, but those are the primary ones, the worst ones to deal with: the pain, the insomnia, the exhaustion, and the inability to focus and think clearly. These things all make life with fibromyalgia extremely difficult. Now, the various treatments for fibromyalgia, most commonly from the pharmaceutical side, are painkillers, of course: cocodamol, tramadol, gabapentin, and Lyrica also used a lot, although they're not so much painkillers as specific treatments for fibromyalgia. They work for some people, they didn't work for me. I reacted very badly to them. They had awful side effects, and I've also since read of a lot of other people experiencing very bad side effects with them, including quite severe addictions. But some people do respond very well to it, and some people have got a lot of relief using those drugs. I tried to stay off the painkillers because they cause so many side effects, particularly with the stomach and digestive system, and I already have issues there, so I don't want to make those any worse. Painkillers from the doctors, the cocodamol, tramadol, I haven't tried the morphine, and I'm hoping not to ever have to, but the tramadol and the cocodamol, for me, I find they don't actually kill the pain, the deep ache. They'll help if I've got a torn muscle or a pulled muscle really, really well, but the actual constant deep ache that goes with fibromyalgia, the crushing, the cramping, they don't seem to help with that at all. Other treatments include the more holistic treatments, such as shiatsu and acupuncture, which some people get great results from. I like shiatsu, I don't like acupuncture. I like a deep tissue massage from a sports therapist who really knows what they're doing specifically with specific muscle groups. Not just a beauty therapy massage, you need someone who knows the physiology really well. That can be very, very helpful. Also, if you live in a state or country where it's legal, I have been told that cannabis is extremely useful and powerful for combating the symptoms of fibromyalgia, particularly the pain and the exhaustion. Those are the main treatments for fibromyalgia as it is. There's no cure. We're hoping one day there'll be a cure, but no idea how long that will be. They only seem to know the basics of what causes it at the moment, so we could be quite a long way out before we get any real advances, but got to keep remaining hopeful. So there you have it. That's the basics of fibromyalgia: what it is, what causes it, or what can cause it, what the main symptoms are, and what the current main most popular treatments are. Some people do recover. It is possible. Sadly, with me and most people, it does just deteriorate and get worse, and that's a reality we just have to live with. Year on year, it gets tougher, more painful, and more difficult to deal with for most of us. It's not an easy battle, but there's a lot of us out there fighting it, and we're all in it together.